This is the MMA Brief Podcast, recapping the world of mixed martial arts every single week, with your host, Brandon Johansson.
Welcome back to the MMA Brief, recapping this past weekend's fights, UFC 205 from Madison Square Garden. What a night. Arguably the greatest pay-per-view the UFC has ever put on. Arguably the best fights that have ever happened in one night. It was excellent. So we'll get started with the FS1 prelims. Vicente Luque scored a very impressive first-round knockout of Belal Muhammad. Tim the Barbarian Bosch also scored a first-round knockout over Rafael Natal. And the third fight pass prelim fight was Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson had his moments in the first round, hurting Khabib on the feet. Khabib going into this fight was 23-0. We've never seen him tested on the feet quite like that. He's known for his grappling, and shortly after he was rocked in the first round, he took down Michael Johnson and smothered him, mauled him, beat him up. Second round was more of the same from Khabib, and in the third round, he ended up getting the submission win by Kimura. He was the number 2 lightweight going into this fight, so you would think he's in line for a title shot. But also, last week's winner, big winner, Tony El Cucuy Ferguson, is in that discussion as well. Frankie Edgar versus Jeremy Stephens went to a unanimous decision. To Frankie the answer Edgar. Jeremy Little Heathen Stephens had his opportunity in the second round, catching Frankie Edgar with a jumping switch kick that dropped Frankie. Stephens followed it up with a perfectly timed knee, and while Frankie was trying to recover, looking for a takedown against the cage, Jeremy slammed elbows repeatedly into the side of his head. Frankie was able to get the takedown eventually after going on autopilot for about 30 seconds like we saw in his previous fights with Gray Maynard, just weathering the storm, just doing enough to not get finished. Ended up getting Jeremy down and putting on an incredibly tight guillotine that Jeremy survived, and then with about 15 seconds left in that second round, Frankie reapplied the guillotine, looked even tighter. It was a mounted guillotine. Jeremy survived, and Frankie went on to cruise to a decision when it was a very exciting fight. Would have been fight of the night if it wasn't for the main card. Main card got kicked off with Miesha Tate going against Rocky Pennington, and Rocky Pennington cruised to a unanimous decision win over former women's bantamweight champion Miesha Cupcake Tate. Really scary moment in the first round. Rocky Pennington caught Miesha Tate in a standing guillotine. Looked like she was going to just pop her head off. Miesha, interestingly enough, did the same technique that Diego Sanchez had done 1 week prior by kicking off the cage while in that standing guillotine. That's how quick this game evolves. Anyway, Miesha announces her retirement in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan after the fight. Sad to see her go, but she's going to move on, hopefully to do things in Hollywood and not have to get beat up again. She has been beat up in her career. I think most people would have liked to have seen that third fight between Ronda Rousey and her, but for now, she's retired. Next fight was Yoel Romero defeating the former middleweight champion Chris Weidman by third round knockout. It was a good fight, both great wrestlers, but Yoel was on a different level. Early in the third round, Chris had shot for a takedown, and Yoel flew through the air, slamming his knee into the side of Weidman's head, instantly causing a profuse amount of blood to leak from Weidman's head. It didn't seem like he was necessarily rocked or knocked out, but he could tell he was in immense pain. And Yoel pounded him out for the finish. It was one of the fastest bleeding cuts I've ever seen, and a devastating finish for Yoel Romero. After the fight, Michael Bisping was in the house, and he gave Yoel Romero the double bird. Yoel responded by saying, "I love you, Michael Bisping. I love you." Not a great impression. Point is, hopefully, that is going to be the matchup to make in the middleweight division. Yoel Romero, number one contender, versus Michael Bisping. Joanna Jędrzejczyk defended her strawweight title against Karolina Kowalkiewicz in what turned out to be a very good fight. Started kind of slow with Joanna imposing her will, doing what she does best, and in the fourth round, Karolina cracked Joanna. Made her eyes roll in the back of her head, followed up with a flurry, and actually dropped her to one knee at one point. The champion was able to recover and eventually earn a unanimous decision win to retain her title. Tyron Woodley versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson ended in a draw. This was for the welterweight title, and it was a phenomenal fight. Ended up winning that fight of the night honor, stealing it from Jeremy Stephens and Frankie Edgar. Back and forth fight. First round, Wonderboy Thompson went for a kick about 2 minutes in, and Woodley took him down and punished him. Beat him up for the better part of 2.5 minutes. Round ended, but Wonderboy was badly beaten up. Cut on his nose, maybe nose coming from his nostrils as well. It was leaking from the bridge of his nose. His eyes were both beat up. Tyron Woodley took him down and really made him pay for throwing that kick. Second round, I think most people gave it to Wonderboy Thompson. Not the most eventful round. Third round, I think you could also give that round to Wonderboy Thompson. Fourth round, once again, just like in the previous fight, when Karolina Kowalkiewicz changed the complexion of that fight, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson got cracked by Tyron Woodley. Hurt with punches on multiple occasions, and Tyron just kept landing those punches till he eventually dropped him. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson weathered the storm and actually shot in for a takedown. Tyron Woodley locked up a extremely tight guillotine to the point where it looked like the veins in the spine of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson were going to burst out of his skin, and his head was going to pop off like a fucking daisy. It was incredibly tight, and he held it for almost it seemed like 2 minutes. Woodley had this guillotine super tight. The round ends with Wonderboy popping his head out and delivering about 30 seconds of decent ground and pound, helping up Woodley after. So that round's got to go to Woodley as well. I'd probably say it was a 10-7. Or 10-8, excuse me. It was a beatdown, except for the last 45 seconds where Wonderboy was able to pop his head out of that guillotine and posture up and really land some decent ground and pound. But he was really badly hurt in that fourth round. Like, probably concussed multiple times by the power of Woodley. Fifth round probably went to Wonderboy, and it came back 47-47, 47-47, 48-47, majority draw. Woodley retains his belt. Absolute classic. Just rewatched it today, and it's a phenomenal fight. I'm hoping that they have a rematch, because that's how good that fight was, and I can't wait to see it again. Let's, run it back. Main event, Conor McGregor made history by becoming the UFC's first two-division champion by defeating Eddie Alvarez by second-round TKO. Already the featherweight champion, he comes in and beats a workhorse, someone with an incredible resume, with a great chin, just known for being durable. Conor came in and just looked like he was on a different level. Knocked him down 3 times in the first round. Staggered him multiple occasions in the second round, and then finally landed a 4-punch sequence that was just picture perfect. Super Saiyan status, and finished the champion by TKO. He's got 2 belts now, and he looks unstoppable to the untrained eye. Who are they going to, styles make fights. Who are they going to match him up against? We don't know at this point. Is he going to defend his 145-pound title? Is he going to relinquish that title? Is he going to fight Tyron Woodley? Is he going to fight Nate Diaz? Who the fuck knows? But he has done something no other fighter has ever done, and that's hold belts simultaneously in 2 weight classes. And that's impressive. He's taken the world by storm. He looks like Anderson Silva in his prime, the way he's lighting people up. And you can't really not be happy for him. Because he's, arrogant and cocky, but those same things make him such a next-level fighter. I'd love to see the Nate trilogy, but we'll see what's next for Conor. We got fights coming up this weekend, 2 different cards UFC's putting on Saturday. It's going to be a good weekend. Come back next week. We'll recap everything. Recap the Ultimate Fighter from this week. Peace.